Okay, pointer number 34. Pointer number 34 in open air preaching, which again, Lord willing, this will be put into a book form eventually. We're beginning to work on that. So each little pointer will be a short chapter. And so pointer number 34 is do not get discouraged by negative responses or negative reactions. And so obviously this is true in any type of evangelism. Don't get discouraged by negative responses. But I want to share that specifically with the open air preacher and open air preaching, because you see a lot of negative. You see people get angry, or you see people, which I think is even worse, you see people, especially here in Oklahoma, who are very apathetic. But don't get discouraged, because you can't always tell what's going on in a person's heart by the way they react. Many times when they react negatively, it's because the Spirit of God is working in their hearts. And so I want to give two short examples. This won't take long. And actually, neither one of these are in specifically open air preaching, but the principle still applies because we see so many people respond negatively while we're preaching, but we don't ever know what happens to these people most of the time. And so a friend of mine, he told me he was down in Oklahoma City with his pastor several years ago, and they were just sharing the gospel, witnessing to people. They weren't preaching, but they were proclaiming Christ to individuals, maybe small groups of people. And he said him and his pastor was talking to this guy one time, and this guy got very angry. They described him as a big guy, I think a big old guy with a beard, and he was a truck driver. And so the guy got so angry. My friend said that my pastor was talking to him, and he said this guy spit in my pastor's face, just cussed him out. And so obviously that would be what you would consider a negative response. Well, a few weeks later, I think it was a few weeks, it may have been a few months, this was years ago when he told me this, they were down in the same area in Oklahoma City where I've been going to for years. And so they're talking to a group of people, and they notice out of the corner of their eye that big guy is just standing there. And so they were rather apprehensive, And so anyway, he was just standing there, and he came over and talked to him whenever they were finished talking to this group of people. And he told them, they said you could tell his demeanor had changed. And he came down there to thank them. He said, I was in my truck driving one day, and I heard a man on the radio. I just flipping through the channels and heard a man on the radio. His name was R.C. Sproul. And he was telling me a lot of the same things that you guys were telling me that day. And I had to pull my truck over and was just weeping and sorry for my sin. And the guy, his testimony was he cried out to the Lord to save him, and God saved him. Had already been seeing him work in his life and his family and his marriage. So he said, I wanted to try my best to try to find you guys. And I thought maybe if I came back down here, I'd find you. And so praise the Lord for that encounter. And then an encounter I had back several years ago as well. Again, I wasn't preaching. I was down there preaching that night, but at this point I wasn't preaching, but I was talking to a group of teenagers, probably 6 or 8 of them, and just going through the gospel, going through the law of God, bringing the knowledge of sin, and for probably a good 20 minutes. And so I had some of them engaged. Some of them I remember specifically, they seemed engaged. This one particular girl, she was in the back. Again, these were probably 18 to 20-year-olds. But I remember this one particular girl standing in the back, and she was back there just kind of like this. And to my eyes, to my physical eyes, I thought, well, this girl's definitely not listening. Maybe some of these others. And so went on, and then, I don't know, a week or 2, 3 weeks later, it wasn't real long, I was down in the same area before I'd started preaching, and had just gotten down there, and really, really crowded area, and these group of teenagers walked by, and I noticed that girl who didn't seem interested. And I caught her attention. I said, "Hey, young lady, do you remember me?" And I was just expecting to get kind of a sarcastic response or, rolling of the eyes or whatever. But instead she said, yeah, I remember you. She said, I was up till like 3 a.m. that night thinking about what you were telling us there that night. And so, anyway, didn't get a chance to talk to her further. But the simple point is, guys, don't get discouraged through negative responses or even apathetic responses. Because when we're preaching, you see, those two stories were just a glimpse of God giving me just a glimpse at what He's doing in the hearts of people. And so when you're preaching the gospel, in big crowds where people are standing around, maybe some people are getting angry. Maybe there's not a lot of response. It seems apathetic. Don't get discouraged. And don't get discouraged by the naysayers who say, oh yeah, I was down there. There's no fruit down there. I tried it once. Or I just think there's no fruit in open-air preaching. That's like somebody going to a lake and fishing one time and say, yeah, there's no fruit there. Or there's no fish in that lake. When you got a guy who's lived there for 20 years and fishes on a regular basis and says, well, I beg to differ. I've got picture after picture after picture of my stringers full of fish. And so don't get discouraged by the negative responses. Anyway, God bless you guys. Have a good Lord's Day.